Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Soulful Ascension. And today I'm joined with the one and only Morry Zelcovitch, who is known as an engineer and a pioneer in brainwave entrainment. So, hello, Morry. I'll just do a quick little intro just to give the listeners some background about your amazing online program and how you overcame severe depression, but you were also experiencing thousands of voices in your mind. And this is what led you to the understanding how the sound and the frequency transform mental states. And from this, Morry has created a powerful audio program designed to help people to improve their lives naturally without drugs. And I'm definitely an advocate for the more natural, the better. And so, Morry, thank you for being here. And I'm excited to hear more about how you went from hearing thousands of voices in your head to mastering your mind. So what was the turning point for you where you realized that it's like, what's going on with all these voices, or to really diving deeper and then creating and transforming something out of mental health or depression, which a lot of people, uh, some people are still experiencing today. And so, what was the turning point for you?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, LindaJoy. I appreciate that very much, the opportunity to share. So, I went through 40 years of deep darkness. I generally tell people look for something black in the room they're in and imagine that's a bright sunny day, because that's what it was like for me for a better part of 40 plus years. I didn't think I had a problem. I thought everybody was like me. I thought everybody was depressed. Everybody hated life. I used to hate life. I hated people. I hated everything. I used to wake up in the morning, cross my fingers, stand on my bed, look out the curtains, and hope I'd see mushroom clouds because I actually tried to end my life 6 times that I'm aware of. But the turning point, as you say, would have happened probably after the sixth time because I realized at that point that if I can't find a way to die, and apparently I couldn't, I'm still here, I had to find a way to live. And that's really what kind of started to turn me around. I tried a whole bunch of things. I saw doctors and clinicians and coaches and, various disciplines. And I tried drugs and alcohol. I was addicted to a whole bunch of different things. Nothing helped. The doctors didn't help. The clinicians didn't help. The therapists didn't help. Not that they didn't want to. I mean, they all had
Mm,
good things they were doing. They just weren't helping me.
mm,
So I kind of figured that if I can't get professional help, and I've tried everything I can find over decades of looking, then maybe I need to understand my problem
mm,
rather than just throwing stuff on the wall to see what sticks, because nothing was sticking.
mhm,
And it gets depressing, after decades of searching,
mm,
it's natural to get your hopes up when you find something new. So I found something new. My hopes get up. Then I try it and it doesn't help me. Then I go down, and then my hopes go up again because I find something else, and then it goes down and up and down and up and down. Some of the worst things for me as a depressed person was the up and down. It was almost better not to have any ups because
mm.
I felt like, I don't know if you remember the Charlie Brown cartoon,
Oh,
right?
big,
Peanuts, I guess they called it.
But
And
long time ago, yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
so Lucy would hold the football for Charlie Brown. And every time he would go up to kick it, she'd move it away so he'd fall flat on his back. That's kind of how I felt, that it was a nonstop event of this. When I realized again that I couldn't find a way to die, so I had to find a way to live, I started becoming more mindful of what I was doing and why I was doing it. So like I said, I decided to go to a place called the paper internet. Can you tell me what that is in your mind?
The paper internet, like a newspaper, a magazine, a
Close.
library,
There
a
you
book.
go.
Okay,
Library.
library. Okay.
Exactly. You know, you're one of the few people to actually get there. Good for you. So I went to the library because they didn't have the internet back then. And I started reading medical journals, neurology journals, neurochemical journals, research papers on all these things, perception, psychology, quantum physics, believe it or not, existed way back then too. So I was reading all these different things in an attempt to figure out why I felt the way I felt. I thought that if I could figure out why, I'd be able to figure out how. So I realized that thoughts
Change.
create chemistry, and they create chemistry by creating frequencies. And depending on where the neuron is, the brain cell, and how many times it's flicking on and off like a light switch in a second, that dictates the kind of state it's in. So everybody's heard of gamma and theta and beta and alpha and, whatever. And these are nothing more than descriptors of how many times a neuron fires every second. That's it. How many times it fires an electric pulse every second. But from a usage standpoint, from an understanding standpoint, depending on the region of the brain and how many times it's firing, that dictates the kind of chemistry it releases. And our chemistry is how we feel things. So if we don't express chemistry from our stimulation, then we don't experience the stimulation. So I could slap my face, my head could fly off to the side, fly back. But if my brain didn't register the slap or the feeling, then I would have not only not felt it, but I also would have not even been aware that I was slapped, even though my field of vision changed when my head moved. So I started realizing all of this and I started going, maybe there's something to all of this. And as I'm researching and as I'm experiencing, I was on a camping trip and all my friends, I don't know how I had friends, by the way, but all my friends had gone to bed. At that time, I was addicted to many different things. I had rolled myself a really big fat joint and I figured it would take about half an hour to smoke it. And then I'd go to bed because I couldn't sleep unless I was wasted. Too many racing thoughts, too many evil thoughts, too much thinking. So I'm smoking this joint, and something I didn't mention is that time passes very, very slowly for me, or at least it did. I'm sure most people, it's probably similar. If they're miserable, if they're sad, if they're upset, time goes really slow. And it went really slow for me. Up until that point in my life, I actually feel like I'm about 970, 1,000 years old, because that's how slow time passed. Imagine 40 years of this. It doesn't feel like 40 years, it feels like an eternity. So I'm sitting around this campfire, I'm smoking this joint. Most of the time, my head is in my hands and I've got my elbows on my knees. And all I'm hearing is crack, crack, snap, pop, 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 like a bowl of Rice Krispies, right? Because the wood that's burning has air pockets and the air pockets
Yeah.
overheat and they little pop, 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 pop.
Mhm.
I didn't realize it at the time, but I raised my head. It felt like half an hour. The joint was gone, and it was 4 or 5 hours later. First time in my life, time passed fast. That made me start thinking, what was it? What was it? Was it the light? Was it the flickering? Well, I wasn't really looking at the fire, so it had to be the sound. And then I got
Hmm.
back to the library again after that trip, and I really started digging into these things. What's the power of sound, power of vibration, power of this, power of that? Sound actually doesn't exist, by the way. There's an old line that says, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it, does it make a sound? So, Linda Joy, does it make a sound if there's no one there to hear it?
Well, it
Just yes
does,
or
but no one's there to witness it.
good. So that means then I can assume, and tell me if I'm wrong, that if you are there to witness it, then it does still makes a sound, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it actually doesn't in either case. What it makes is vibration. So if everybody puts their fingers on their neck and their
Mm.
throat and they talk, they'll feel vibration. So what vibration
Yes.
does is it goes into the ear canal if it's there, and the bones are there, and the cilia is there, and the neurons are there. And what happens is the brain interprets the vibration as sound. So you don't actually hear
Yeah.
anything. No one ever has. As far as I know, there's no being, animal, insect, anything on the planet that's ever heard anything. It's all reaction to the power of the vibration, and then the brain creates the impression of sound. So now knowing that, I thought, interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
The
Mm.
popping made time pass fast, never passed
Yeah.
fast before. What is it about the relationship there? So I went through a whole bunch of stuff. After 40 odd years, I came across brainwave entrainment, which I was led to after making these understandings about sound not existing. Sound is really vibration. Vibration is how the brain reacts and produces chemistry. And then that's that chemistry that allows us to feel what we feel. Putting all these things together, I ended up creating my first recording. And when I did that, that was the real turnaround because the very first time I listened, by the way, did I mention I had thousands of voices? You mentioned I had thousands of voices. So it was like being in a crowd of people during an intermission, like at a football game or a baseball game or a rock concert or something. Everybody's talking. So you pick out the odd word here
Mm.
and there, but really it's just noise.
It is.
Well, all of a
Mm.
sudden, that went away. For 5 minutes after my recording, I thought, oh, damn, nothing happened. I'm finished. I've I've been looking for 40, 45 years. Nothing works. I finally thought I figured out my own solution, and it doesn't work either. 5 minutes later, though, I started hearing the voices coming back. First time in my life I never heard the voices. Sure, it was only for 5 minutes, but that's the first time I've never heard the voices. I got really excited. Then, years later, I realized that when I got down on myself, when I first thought nothing happened, one little voice came to me and said, because I still hadn't realized the voices were gone, and it said, what did you think? 40 years of this hell is going to go away with one 30-minute recording, one time listening? And I agreed. I said, yeah, you're right. I never would have done that before. I would have gone into what I call a super depression. So I was dark, pitch black. That was my normal. And then if something happened that I interpreted as bad, I'd go even deeper for 4 to 6 weeks on average. That didn't happen.
Really?
So those two things happened off of one 30-minute recording, and I got excited. And then I started developing a system around that recording. And then after that, I started developing other systems. And after that, people started noticing changes in me. What's happening? Why? 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 Can I have some? Can I try it? Blah, blah, blah. Turned into a lifetime business. I do this full time now. So sorry for
Beautiful.
the incredibly long-winded approach there, but it
I,
is a
I,
story.
I absolutely. I love it. Let's just go back because you said through all like the first 40 years of your life, you felt depressed. What were you feeling in your body? Could you feel
Well,
it in
I
your body or was it just in your mind?
I felt it primarily in my mind directly, but that's actually a good question because indirectly I felt it in my body. I was injury prone. Later on, I assumed, or I kind of came to a conclusion that maybe I was self-harming. There were a bunch of times in the car where I did things and I couldn't believe nothing happened.
Oh, so you would inflict pain on yourself
I think so.
and
I don't know that for a fact, but I believe I was hurting myself, in some cases trying to end my life, in other cases trying to punish myself.
right. And what did that teach you? Like,
Well, it taught me nothing until I made that realization that if I can't die, I can't, I have to find a way to live.
right.
It was
And
just it
your
was just torture. It was like being in hell.
yeah. And were
Yeah.
your parents supportive during this time, or did they
When,
try and
when I did my first recording, it was back in the like my first system was called Quantum Mind Power. And back in those
mm,
days, everything was on CD. So
mhm,
they didn't have streaming and they didn't have any of that. And I remember when the CDs came out, my I showed it to my parents and I forgot what I wrote on the back because I gave my story on the back. My
mm,
dad kind of went like this, yeah, I'm not surprised. My mom started crying because she had no idea. Most people don't
really?
know. When someone's super
Yeah.
depressed, most people think, like, for instance, I was the class clown.
Mm,
Robin Williams, funny
mm,
guy, really funny guy, killed himself because he was depressed.
absolute. Yeah.
So often the funniest people are the ones who are the suffering the worst because they're trying so
Mm,
hard to change their circumstance, to change how they think.
yeah. And
But
they,
yeah,
yeah,
so
put up that facade to cover it up and not
yes,
share how they're really feeling. Um, so
yeah,
So your brainwave entrainment, in simple terms, because I've heard it and it's the subliminals and the listening. Can you explain to people who have no idea, who've never heard about sound therapy or the subliminals or how this actually impacts the
sure.
brain? And
So there's something called the frequency following response. And this is a natural occurrence in everybody. Anybody can relate to listening to music they like and tapping their toes, shaking their leg, bopping their head, moving their body to the music. They're not trying to do it, they just do it. That's a form of entrainment. What we do is we use that feature of the brain, of the mind, of the body, and we use it to entrain the neurons. Neurons are your brain cells. So the frequency following response creates a state in the brain where you get a dominant number of neurons pulsing in unison. And when they pulse in unison, they release larger quantities because they're pulsing in unison of various neurochemistry, things like endorphins and hormones and neurotransmitters. And it's the combination of these things that's like a recipe. So my wife, for instance, today made a fantastic soup. I think it's called Italian Wedding, and she made it from scratch. And I can smell it now, and it's like, oh, yummy, 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 yummy. Now you give me the same ingredients, I think dishwash or dishwash dish soap would probably taste better than what I would make out of it. So it all depends on what you make out of your chemistry. And
Mhm,
when you're depressed and you're down and you're this, you feel a certain way. When you're
mm,
happier, it feels a certain way. It's the same process, just different chemistry. So what
mm,
happens is you have these pulse tones, bump, 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 bump. I have a background noise. Shh. Most people would
mm,
equate the background noise with like white noise. It's actually 600 frequencies laid on top of each other, one at a time. Most of them are there to do the same thing the white noise does, just to block out external
mm,
noises so you get a better, more
mm,
pure effect. Some of them, I
mm,
believe, are resonant with different regions of the brain. I have no proof of this. I just believe
mm,
it from experience. And because of that, they make you more susceptible, if you will, more sensitive to the tones, the bum 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 bum, which allows you to react and feel different. Now, It's natural processes that allow you to feel this way. You react to these things anyway in life. This is just a more
Mhm.
scientific, directed way to act. I even have something called triliminals that have the same thing. They have the shh, they have the ba 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 ba, but the frequency or the pulse rate of the ba 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 is in a theta bandwidth that allows for something called long-term potentiation. So long-term potentiation is the brain's ability to form neural pathways. So if you've ever been in a situation, and I'll ask you, Linda Joy, if you've ever been in this situation, I'm sure the listeners will relate to this too, where maybe you were out with some friends, they bump into a friend of theirs and they introduce you. Hey, Linda Joy, meet Morry. Morry, meet Linda Joy. And then 2 seconds later, what was his name again?
Yeah.
Can't remember the name. Well, that's not a dementia. That's simply you didn't have LTP, long-term potentiation, which is a state active in your brain. When it's active, you can form memory pathways. When it's not active, it goes in one ear and out the other ear.
Hmm.
So the triliminal has the shh and the ba 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 ba, but it also has me talking to you in the left ear, specifically with info for the right hemisphere of your brain, in the right ear with the left. That's how perception
Mm.
works. Anything in the left side of the left side goes to the right, anything in the right goes to the
Mm.
left. And then again,
Mm.
another set in the center, which goes to both hemispheres. And much of that happens on top of itself. So it's a lot of stimulation. And the idea behind the design of these is to change what I call the negative reflexive thought process. It programs you through overstimulation to think more positively, to not always be worried if the phone rings at midnight. Oh my God, who's hurt? Who's dead? Who's in hospital? Maybe it's a wrong number. Maybe someone just found out they're pregnant and they're in a different time zone and they forgot. They're too excited. I mean, it doesn't have to be a bad reason. And even if it
Yeah.
is something that you define as bad, maybe you can recover quicker from it and deal with it better. That's what this technology is really effective at.
Beautiful. So because absolutely, this is working with the not just the chemistry in your brain, because that's the hormones as well. Our mind is so
Yeah.
powerful because whatever we're thinking about will help us to get back into the parasympathetic nervous system, but also with the feel good hormones, it actually releases those hormones in our body, feel good hormones, the
Sure.
oxytocin and the dopamine, and this is working on our brain, reprogramming the brain. What's happening neurologically when someone's listening to these recordings and the subliminals and the repetitive patterns? What's happening neurologically?
Well, from a neurological perspective, the real effect neurologically is from the pulse tones. It's from the ba 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 ba, because that through the frequency following response entices the neurons to behave the same way. On, off, on, off, on, off, vibration, no vibration, energy, no
Mm,
energy, sound, no sound.
mm.
That's the neurological effect. It's more of a psychological effect when you're talking the spoken word in the triliminals. But there
This
is
is
some
where the
neurology to it because we are directing certain command structures to certain hemispheres.
hmm
But so neurologically, it's more from the ba 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 ba. Psychologically, it's more from the you feel this, you are this,
yeah,
this is how it is. When you combine the power of the two, that's incredible. That's where a lot of the superpower comes from. Because a lot of
mhm,
different techniques do one or the other or something else,
mm,
but they don't do
mm,
enough. You know, there's a reason why spokes of a bicycle, or sorry, why a bicycle has more than one spoke. Because one spoke gives it some strength, but multiple spokes give it more strength. So it's the same thing with the brain. If we can deal with as many functions, as many influences as we can, we're more likely to get stronger results.
beautiful. And this also ties into, because the results like reprogramming and rewiring our brain, neurons that fire together, wire together, that's where we get the results in our life. That's where we create our reality. And from the positive, because you've got several different recordings and they're all different based on different outcomes, correct? Can you talk about a few of your recordings and the
Sure.
outcome that they produce?
So the outcome is really dependent on the person because ultimately it's the outcome that the person is looking for is what they're going to get. Not necessarily what they're looking for consciously, but what they actually need. See, when your brain is stimulated and your mind is stimulated, it actually acts in its own self-interest. I may think I need A, and my mind says, actually, you're wrong. You really need B. So I may not get A, but I'll get B. And if I'm patient enough and if I stick with it long enough, I'll likely get the results that I want to get, i.e.,
Mm,
I'll feel better, that kind of a thing. It's the mind and the brain are interesting because we really know very little about either of them. It's really what I have is I call it a current understanding. I don't believe science is about knowledge. I think science is about understanding. Because as we learn new things, like the Hubble Space Telescope, before that, there were land-based telescopes, like, observatories. Before that, there were telescopes that were just portable. Then there were binoculars. Then people just stared at the sky. And as we looked up, depending on the detail we saw, we had new ways of interpreting the world around us and the universe.
mhm.
You know, after Hubble came James Webb. What's going to happen after James Webb? Something else that's going to let us see the universe in a different way than we see it now. What we see now gives us our understanding, but it doesn't give you a fact or a truth because I don't believe either of those exist. Because the more we learn, the more our opinions change. Truth is something that shouldn't be able to change because it's the truth. Fact is something that shouldn't be able to change because it's a fact. But if things keep breaking down when you push them too hard, then they're not truth and they're not a fact, which means, is there such a thing as truth? Is there such a thing as fact? Well, one might say that, yeah, there is in the moment, and I can't argue with that. But for me, they don't exist because when they do exist, I stop thinking. That's dangerous for me. I can't speak for you or someone else. But if I believe in something, then I don't think about it anymore because why should I? I know it. But what if I'm wrong? And odds are I am. Because if I look at everything else throughout history, we've always been wrong. We thought this, I mean, they used to drill holes in women's heads when they diagnosed them with hysteria
Wow.
because that would release the demons that were in her head, making her go crazy, making her being irrational, making her yell and scream. These were demons. So they literally drilled holes in the skull to release the pressure, let the demon have an exit point. That was true. That was a fact. Obviously, it's not true or a fact. But that's what at the time that was believed that way. At the time of Freud, everyone says Freud is a terrible psychologist because all he did was talk about how men were superior and women were this. Well, he lived in a time where society didn't treat women with any respect.
Mm,
It wasn't Freud, it was the whole freaking world.
mm.
Freud just put words to it.
Yep.
It was the whole world.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with Freud at all. Knowledge is something that we gather to make, and it depends how we interpret the knowledge. Depends how
Hmm.
we interpret what happens to us. You and I, Linda Joy, could walk down the street together, the Champs-Élysées in France,
Mm,
and have a nice conversation for an hour. And then
mm,
they interview us separately. What did you see
mm,
when you were speaking with Morry? Well, you'll describe things that you saw. Morry, what did you see
mm.
when you were speaking with Linda Joy? I'll describe what I saw. It'll be like we were on two different planets.
Yeah. Exactly.
We
Yeah.
saw exactly the same things, but we chose to notice different things.
Mm-hmm.
That's
That's
the
right.
difference, right?
Yeah.
So we're all different.
Absolutely. So what role does consciousness play in healing versus just the chemistry? Because what one of the modalities I teach is about shifting consciousness, expanding awareness, connecting all 12 strands of DNA, and your actual perspective and outlook changes. So with the brain's chemistry, and there's many levels of consciousness, this is what a lot of people are experiencing right now with the Great Awakening, and the veil is lifted, and so many people waking up and thinking differently. With the brainwave entrainment and through the subliminals, through the sound, how is that also helping people to expand and elevate their consciousness?
So the way I would describe it in those terms would be that people wear glasses, and the glasses have colors on them, depending on how they feel, depending on what they think, depending on what they believe. There's no line, oh, he sees life through rose-colored glasses, or dark glasses, or orange glasses, or pink glasses, or this glass or that glass. And if we look through colored lenses, I wonder if I have a pair. No, I don't. They're not here. But if you look through colored lenses, it changes your perception. Brainwave entrainment, I don't believe creates super anything, nothing supernatural about it. It brings you back to natural. In other words, it brings you back to where you're supposed to be. In other words, it takes out those lenses. And when you're looking through the glass, they're just clear, nothing else. There's no imposition of belief. There's no imposition of society. There's no imposition of religion or of our parents or of our teachers or of our friends or of how we feel. I believe it allows us to see things more the way they really are for us. And when I
Mm,
say for us, I mean that because I think everybody lives in their own universe in my world. And because colors don't look the same to people. Words don't mean the
mm,
same thing for everybody. So a lot of
mm,
people say hate because I'm a little self-depreciating, defecating it sometimes. But I joke around. I'm smiling when I do it. I don't believe like, be careful what you say. Your brain doesn't know what you mean. It's going to think this or whatever. I think it's the intention behind the word that matters. It's not the word.
mm,
Words are meaningless. Words have no meaning. They're given meaning by books and dictionaries and whatever.
mm,
It's the
mm,
intention behind the word that matters. If you tell someone to F off and you do it giggling and smiling because they're tickling you or something's going on, that's not the same thing as saying F off,
yeah.
right? Same
Yeah.
words,
Different energy.
totally different.
Mm,
Yeah, way different
mm,
energy.
yeah.
So
So, in our society, especially with the increase in mental health, and then the old system is, well, you have to take this medication if you have X, Y, or Z, if you've been given a medical label. And so, do you think society is over medicated because they don't understand the mind and how the brain works, and how we do have the ability to, well, there's lots of tools. I mean, the brain um, is such oh, a powerful organ in our body, but it's the mind. Yes. Do you want to speak about that? The mental health and how society is just being medicating people because they don't understand the mind
I
or
think
how the
I think
brain works.
I think medication has its place,
Mm,
but I'm not sure it should be something that, oh, it works, so let's just keep them on it forever.
mm,
I don't
yeah.
think that means you stop looking. I think it's a stopgap, or it could be used
Yes.
as a stop. But I don't
Short
think it should
term.
be used as the final solution. That's just my personal opinion.
Mm.
Um, you know, when we I had a friend who, when I was much younger, who was depressed and he was on antidepressants. And when he was on them, he was fine, 100% fine. The problem
Mm.
was he'd be on them, he'd be fine for like 5 or 6 months. And then he'd think to himself, well, I don't need this stuff anymore. So he'd go off of them
Mhm.
and he'd crash. And then he'd go back on them again and he'd feel good. And then 4 or 5 months later, he got off of them and he'd crash again. So he was doing this a lot. And he ended up killing himself because he couldn't take it. And that's a more common event than you might think, you know?
Mm.
So do I think we're over medicated? I think we over medicate ourselves as much as doctors do. We drink, we smoke pot, we do other drugs,
Mm.
cocaine, crack, whatever. You know, there's lots of stuff happening. It's not just doctors that are over medicating. But part of the problem, I think, is, you know, in the olden days, extremely violent people, they gave them frontal lobotomies because that got rid of the
Interesting.
violent urges. And the thing is, are we medicating to help the person or are we medicating to help ourselves? So the thing is, it hurts me, Linda, to look at you sad all the time. I'm role playing.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
in so what will make me feel better is if you don't look sad anymore. So I'm going to give you a pill. Linda, take this pill every day and it'll cover up that you're sad. So you'll still be sad, but you just won't
mm.
be showing it on the outside, which means
Right.
I can relax now because I don't
Mm.
have to see you sad anymore.
Suppress
So I
the
think that,
emotion. Yeah.
yeah, I think part of the problem is that we're not medicating to help people, we're medicating to help ourselves. And that's what I mean. We're medicating others to help ourselves. A lot of people feel very uncomfortable around people with disabilities. You
Really?
know, why do they feel uncomfortable like someone's in a wheelchair or someone is missing a limb? Why is that? Why do we feel uncomfortable? Well, it's the same idea. Why not just hide them away? That way I don't have to see them. Homeless people. Why not just hide them away so I don't have to see them? Then I can believe they don't exist and
Wow.
I can go on happy go lucky life. I think when we start caring about people, like really caring about people and saying, I want to help you, not because it makes me uncomfortable to see you that way, but because I don't want you to be that way. I was reading an article that said we're closer now to regenerating lost limbs in humans.
Hmm.
That's freakishly incredible. Now with
Yeah.
AI, a lot of treatments for various disorders are being custom made. They're tailored, quite literally, like buying a suit or a dress, a gown,
Yeah.
and then going into the tailor after and saying, okay, measure me up, make it fit me, make it look good on me, right?
Well, interesting talking about limbs, especially amputations, right? I used to do body work over about 25 years ago, and an amputee came to me for a treatment and he was complaining about the pain that he felt. And energetically, I worked with the limb as if it was there and it reduced the pain.
Beautiful.
So, in regards to your comment, you can regrow. Absolutely. I agree with that because energetically, the body still um, thinks that the limb is there, but the
Yeah.
pain through whatever the accident was that chopped it off or whatever the pain is in the body, treat the root cause and then allow the growth to occur.
More things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. There's a lot of wisdom out there. You know, we have to just remember, I guess if there's something to remember, it would be we don't know what we don't know.
Mm.
And if we don't know something, if we think, you know, too many people say there's no cure for this. Well, of course there is. There's a cure for everything.
Mm. Mhm.
What
Mm.
is it? That's the question. Can I find it?
Mm.
I don't know. Can someone else find it? I don't know. But is there a cure for everything? I fervently believe that there is definitely a cure for every single thing. Coming from a scientist, this is going to sound kind of silly, maybe, but we don't treat each other very well as human beings.
Yeah.
Look what's happening in the world now. Look what happens in the world all the time.
Yeah.
If it's not happening country to country, it's happening individual to individual or group to group or tribe to tribe
Mm-hmm.
or society to society.
Mm, mm,
And we wonder to ourselves, why are we like this? Why do we fight each other? Why do we hurt each other? Why do we steal from each other? Why do we rape and
mm,
pillage and all these things? Why do we
mm,
do this? Question I'd
mm,
like to ask is, what if we evolved beyond it all?
mhm,
I think that
mm,
disease on a individual level in the human body is nothing more than a reflection of the disease in our world, in our society. So I look at all of us as being part of the same animal, part of the same being. I might
mhm,
be a cell in a big toe, you might be a cell in the heart.
mm.
We feel like we're separate because we don't understand our connectedness. My honest belief is that when the day comes, and yes, I do believe the day will come, call me a dreamer, I don't care. When we stop hurting each other, when we stop hating each other, when we stop being jealous of each other, when everybody has anything and everything they need, because I'll tell you something, not everyone's going to want to buy a Rolls Royce or drive one. But
Mhm,
if you could have one if you wanted one, or you could have a bicycle, or you could have a tricycle,
mm,
or you could have a wagon, or whatever it is that you
mm,
want, and anybody can have anything they
mm.
want, I believe all disease will just magically disappear in humans.
Absolutely.
I think it's just going to go away. I think it's nothing more than a reflection of
Yeah.
us not realizing we're part of a greater organism. And think about it. What does cancer do? What do other diseases do? They
Multiplies.
attack other cells.
Mm,
Cancer tries to convert the cells into
mm,
their side of the war. Other diseases
mhm,
destroy cells. What do?
mm,
Well, we try to convert people to our religious faith. We try to convert people to our political beliefs. We also kill
mm.
them if they don't. Sound familiar?
Well, and this is exactly what we're seeing play out in the world because there's only two emotions, love or fear. But if you truly love and accept and have compassion for yourself, then all your brothers and sisters, regardless what country, regardless of what religion, regardless of what their culture is, um, you will just have love and compassion for everyone. And and it doesn't matter what religion, race, color,
Yeah.
belief, and because it's like when you truly love and accept yourself and respect yourself, then that energy will ripple out to the world, but you're also training other people how to treat you with love and respect. And so this is the changes that we're going to see, but we've got to just clean out all this darkness and the heaviness and what's playing out right now. But
Yeah.
absolutely, I've always said in the next 10 years, there will be no illness or disease because we will all know how to heal ourselves. So, um, in regards to the old patterns that are coming up for people and going back to the sound, because you mentioned this in the beginning, there is no sound, it's only vibration. One of the techniques or tools that I teach is building energy and just you adding sound like
Sure.
because that vibration in your throat is adding that vibration and to help build the energy in order to use that
Right.
as a healing tool for yourself. So, Morry, what would you say to someone right now who feels trapped in their own mind? Whether they call it depression, mental health, illness, disease. What would you say?
I would say stop interpreting it as something bad. It's there to help you. That's what discomfort is. Believe it or not, that's what pain is. It's there to tell you something's amiss. Imagine if you fell down and broke your leg and it didn't hurt. You may not go to a doctor, you may not go to the hospital. In that case, they may not set it. They may not put it into a cast. You may not
Mm,
get, physiotherapy afterwards. You may not
mm,
be able to walk ever again, all because you didn't have pain. So maybe the pain you're feeling is a warning system that's
mhm,
telling you, you know what, Morry? I've tried to tell you softly and gently, but you're not listening to me. I have to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And eventually I have to get strong enough that you do listen. And maybe that's what it took. So look at it as a positive. Look at it as saying, I need to do something about this.
mm,
And who knows, maybe if you had listened to the signals that came before all the pain, before all the suffering, you may not have had to go through any of it. But this is the
mm.
human experience. We're not that smart. Oh, let me speak for myself. I'm not that smart. I can't speak for other people. But I think part of what we do is we don't think. We don't look at the logic behind how we're designed. I think we're designed beautifully.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
if we understand that, maybe we see that the pain and the discomfort isn't really pain or discomfort to punish us. It's actually there because it loves us and it wants us to be better. And it's telling
Mm,
us there's something going on. You got to deal with it.
that's
Um,
right.
I had a weird situation about 8 months ago, 9 months ago, where I was lying down on the couch watching some crap on YouTube. And I got up and my arms started flittering around. Like those air things outside a used car salesman
Oh yeah,
lots.
yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
right, it's doing all this kind of stuff. And I remembered when my dad was alive, he said something like that can happen when you're really low blood sugar. And I thought, well, I'm not a diabetic, but who knows? I mean, I'm in my early 60s now. Maybe something's happening. So I had an apple. I felt better almost immediately.
Mhm.
I took my blood because I had my dad's old test kit and I was like really low. And I thought, hey, isn't that interesting? Well, before that, I had gone through a bit of a sugar fit. So, like about 6 months or so, I was drinking a large hot chocolate every morning. My wife would have her coffee and her croissant, and I would have a large hot chocolate. And then I'd have like a protein bar because protein bars are good for you. 7 grams of protein. That's wonderful. Of course, you don't read where it says 44 grams of sugar and all
Yeah.
this stuff. And I thought, well, you know what? Maybe I was overdoing things. So I cut sugar out of my diet entirely, 100% from that point on. I haven't had sugar
Mm,
except what might have been in a carrot and
mm,
even when I have a slice of bread or something, it's sourdough bread, which is like the least carbohydrate of all the breads.
mm.
And I'm doing so much better because
Yes,
of something that could have
that's
been
right.
very scary and could have frightened me and this and that and everything else. And I got checked out and I'm fine. But the point is, I listened to the message.
Yes.
Now, why did I get that message? Because I was being an idiot in the first place. I was overdoing it. But now I've gone like 8, 9 months without sugar and I feel amazing. I started
Wow.
using my lean mind method recording system and I've lost 45 pounds.
Well done. Beautiful. See, this is where the body is the barometer of the soul. And when we just tune into our body and listen to our body, any pain that the body is giving us is a signal to change, make a change and
Yeah.
stop doing what's not working for your body. And that's what creates the pain.
But that's
And
my
just
point, right?
acknowledging. Mm,
Pain is I called
indicator.
it the red light on the dashboard of your life.
Mm,
So if a red light goes on in your car and you ignore it, what might have cost you $10 for a quart of oil now costs you a whole new car because your engine's seized and you don't have any oil.
Mm,
It's a signal. It's a warning system. I haven't been listening to the earlier warnings.
mm,
My mom, when I was 6 years old, 5 years old, something like that, I played hooky from school
mhm,
and I was bored. She sat me in front of the TV because I told her I'm sick. I don't feel well. So I went into the kitchen and she's cooking on three different elements and she's on the phone to my aunt. I said, Mommy, Mommy, I'm tugging on her, right? Mommy, Mommy, play with me. I'm bored. Honey, you're sick. Go lie down, drink your water, and rest. Because you're sick, we need to make you well. So she went back to paying attention to her cooking and to the phone. Well, back
mhm.
in those days, the heating elements were raised on stove tops
Yes.
and they
Yes.
glowed orange,
Yeah.
red, pink, green, blue. And I was totally fascinated. And I started reaching my hand out.
Mm,
And my mom saw me and she said, Honey, don't do that. Beautiful, calm, sweet, loving voice, right? Don't do that. You'll
mhm,
burn yourself. So I retracted. This went on 7 more times. The sixth time, because I'm an idiot apparently, but the sixth time, she slaps my hand hard and yells at me, Don't do that. You're going to burn yourself. You'll notice I said there were 7 times.
yeah, yeah,
I almost
yeah.
said seventh
And
time
the
she didn't
seventh.
catch me.
Oh,
Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle.
oh,
I had
ouch.
rings on my hands. Just doing this was excruciating pain.
Yeah.
And it was like that for I don't even remember how long now. I've said this story before, and it's been like for 2 weeks, for 3 weeks, for a month, for 3 months. I don't remember how long it was. It felt like forever. Okay. So here's the moral of the story: the universe, in this case, my mom, loves me, right? Universe loves
Yeah.
you. You love you.
Yeah.
It tried to say, honey, don't do that. You'll hurt yourself.
That's
Each
right.
time it elevated itself, honey, don't do it. You'll hurt yourself. You'll hurt yourself. You'll hurt yourself. You'll hurt yourself. You'll hurt yourself.
Mac.
I still
Yeah.
didn't listen. And guess what? I hurt myself. So that's the bottom line. The moral of the story is maybe the universe, maybe your subconscious, maybe God, maybe whatever
Mm,
you want to call it, maybe
mm,
yourself loves you so much that you try to give yourself warnings. You walk
mm,
and you misstep,
mm.
right? You think there's a stair, there isn't a stair. You think
Yeah.
you're out of stairs, the stair is still there. You stub your
Mm.
toe, you misstep, you almost fall over. To me, these are all warnings of your
Yep.
subconscious, your mind, your God, your whatever, telling you you need
Mm.
to pay more attention, you need to stop doing this, you need to do this more, blah, 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 blah. If we don't listen, the message gets louder and louder and louder
Right.
until eventually it has no choice but to hit you, kick you aside the head to get you to wake up. And that's what happened to me with my hand.
Yes. Yeah.
It turned out I needed to be a complete and total idiot, not just a partial idiot, but a complete
Mm.
and total idiot to learn my lesson. And that's my point. So maybe when it comes to your health, a lot of people don't go to doctors because they're afraid of what the doctor's going to say. So if I don't go, I don't know. If I don't know, nothing can hurt me. But how many people, I wonder, die or dying or are in horrible pain who, if they would have paid attention to those early signs,
Mm.
maybe would be alive today, maybe wouldn't even be in pain today.
Mm.
How many? But because our brain got in the way and said, no, 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 I can't deal with this. I'm going to ignore the message. For me, I ignored the message and I burned my hand. My hand's fine now. But what about other things,
Mm.
right? That's what I'm saying. You
So,
got to take care of yourself.
absolutely. So, Morry, what's your deeper mission behind your work? Like you've created, the brainwave entrainment and all the sound frequencies through your subliminals. What is your deeper mission?
So I went through what I went through for a reason. The
Hmm.
funny thing is, and it's funny because even through the deepest, darkest depression, I always felt like I was here for a reason. I don't know
Mm.
if that's a common feeling, for everybody,
Absolutely. Yeah.
but for me at least, I feel like there's a reason that I'm here.
Yes.
And I think going through those 40 years was part of my education, part of what
Yeah.
made me better able to fulfill my mission. My mission is to help people to help themselves, to make them
Mm.
realize that you've never given up your power, ever.
Yeah.
But if you believe you
Mm.
have, you don't use it because you don't think you have it.
Yes.
So my
Yeah.
my mission is to help 8.3 billion people to be better, to be happier, to be faster, to be stronger. Even just a little bit makes a
Beautiful.
difference. I want the whole
Yeah.
world to be a happy place. I think the whole world is supposed to be that way. The whole concept of Eden and nirvana and all these different things. They're concepts that I don't believe, like I don't believe in imagination. So people can imagine a peaceful world, they can imagine this. If you can imagine it, it's because it exists. I don't
Yes.
think imagination exists. I think it's the person's ability to see something somewhere else. Maybe it's in an alternate dimension, maybe it's here. Maybe it's in a community, maybe it's in somebody's house, and it just needs to be discovered and then replicated to make it better. How did we come up with airplanes? I mean, look at the intricacy of an airplane and the engines and the electronics in our phone and stuff. I mean, think about
Yeah.
it. How did this come to be? People are just
Well,
like the heat, they don't think about it. But how did it come
yeah.
to be?
Yeah.
How the intricacy, the technology, the electricity, the intelligence, how did people come up with that? Was it given to us by an alien race? And that's how it comes to be? Is it because we have an inner connection to everything? And that's
Hmm.
why? Or is it simply that we saw it somewhere else and we reverse engineered it?
Well, and
Or
this is
maybe
what
all of the above?
more and more people, because they're really tapping into their own intuition and they're receiving the downloads, they're trusting the downloads, and that's where the innovation is expanding. And, AI, and okay, let's do more of this. So, do you see a connection between brainwave states and intuition or higher consciousness?
Oh, brainwave states. I would have to hook people up to an EEG to see if there's a common thread between people who are being
Hmm.
very intuitive at the time. But a lot of my research and a lot of my work is based on digging up current research and research from the past that does show common threads. That's how I can create a
Mm.
confidence system or a system for pickleball or a system for
Mm.
wellness or a system for this or a system for that, because I'm
Mm.
finding what I believe to be common threads that help people
Mm.
towards certain goals. But also remember, I think placebo is very powerful.
Oh,
Placebo
yeah.
may have cured more people than anything else, but placebo has a bad name. So what if you tell someone, like I read a report that said with subliminals, you could actually give two groups of people subliminals. One of them, shh, or like maybe rainfall. The other one has rainfall too. One of them has subliminals encoded in it, the other one doesn't. But both groups are told they do. And they're told they're positive, and they're told this.
Hmm.
There's no difference between either group. Just the belief that you're getting thousands of subliminal positive messages shot at you makes you act and react differently. There was a study done in a hotel chain where two different hotels, same amount of employees, same layout, like a Howard Johnson's type place.
Hmm.
And the staff, the maid staff and the concierge staff and all that, they were both told, one of them was told nothing. They just went about their work. The other group was told, what you do, believe it or not, constitutes exercise. It constitutes 2 hours of weights and this and that and everything else. The group that was told it constitutes exercise got much stronger than the ones who didn't. They were in better condition, lower heart rate, got more work done, didn't tire as fast. How
Hmm.
do you explain that? That's how
That's
you
right.
explain that. When you
Yeah.
do things with intention, when you realize, when you think about what you're doing, people go for walks all the time. Imagine going for a walk and you're paying attention to each step you take
Mm,
and how your arms are moving and what you're seeing and expanding around you. Now imagine going for a walk and playing classical music and you're just listening to the music. So you're walking by rote. You're not even paying attention to the fact that you're walking. It's my
mm,
belief that the person walking who is paying attention, who is conscientious about it, intentional, is
mm.
probably going to get a lot more out of that walk than the person who's listening to the music because they're
Interesting.
putting more of their energy into it.
Yeah,
So
well,
think
they've
about,
been present,
yeah, they're
present
being
in
present.
in in their body, and this is what I also tell others is go for a walk in nature and don't take your device or listen to, music or a podcast or whatever it is. Just be present with the sounds in nature and the
Sure.
nature spirits around you. Um, Morry, just to wrap up, if someone could only do one thing today to improve their mental or emotional state, what would you tell them?
I would tell them that happiness is a choice.
Yeah,
That's what I would
yeah.
tell them. Realize that your thoughts and how you interpret your thoughts is
Mm,
even more important. So be careful of the meaning you give to what happens around you
absolutely.
and look for the best. Because just like when you buy that new car or that new bicycle or that new blouse, and all of a sudden everybody else is wearing it and everybody else. I literally, when I was younger, used to think that someone saw us driving this car and they thought, oh, what a nice car. So everyone started buying it because I never saw it until we bought it.
That's the reticular activating system working in your
Yeah,
brain. Yeah,
that's
yep,
right. So pay
exactly.
attention to what you want and what is really going on around you.
Mm,
And
mm,
realize that if you buy a new car and you suddenly start seeing that car everywhere, that means that if you expect your life to be crappy, your life will be crappy because that's what you're going to see everywhere. Because
yeah,
that's what you bought. You
that's
bought the
right.
crappy feeling, you bought the crappy this.
Mm,
So choose to be happy and you will see things that make you happy. That will
exactly.
then make you happy. Kind of a backdoor way into being happy. And understand that the evidence is there. Even if you're miserable, the evidence is there because think about what your thoughts are. Okay, I'm miserable. Morry's full of crap. Totally miserable. Maybe it works for him, but not for me. Maybe it works for LindaJoy, not for me. Well, pay a little attention. Be a scientist. Look at your thoughts the last few days, the ones that keep repeating over and over and over again. And you'll see what I mean. You'll see that you have basically brought it into being. I mean,
Because thoughts
money,
become
whatever.
things.
Yeah,
So
like lots
this
of people
this
who have money are miserable.
that's
Lots
right.
of people who are
Well,
poor are happy. How do you explain that? I guess money doesn't have anything to do with joy or happiness, does it?
no,
Yeah.
no, it's just
I
the
mean, it's
meaning you
nice if
give
we
it.
all could have enough, but
Well, we
it's not the
do.
reason. Yeah. But it's not the reason you're unhappy, and it's not
Mm,
the reason you're happy. Just understand you have the power. You do. You have all the power you need. And the evidence is that your life is the way it is, whatever it is, good, bad, indifferent, somewhere in between. So you start putting your
beautiful.
intention and your attention somewhere else, you'll get different results. Like that old line, right? If you keep doing the same things and expect different results, that's the definition of insanity.
That's right. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, Morry, thank you. How can people reach you? And also for those that are interested in the Mind Trainer Pro and listening to the subliminals, how do they access that?
Well, the best way to access it is I believe there will be a link below.
Yep,
Just click
I'll
it
put a link in
and
the
you'll be
yeah.
able to see everything you need to see there.
And
And by
and
the
then
way, sorry, go ahead.
what do they? when they click on that link, what do they actually receive? Because it's a monthly, they can keep listening to as much as they like every month, correct?
Well, they'll go to a web page which will offer them various solutions. So we have
Mm,
like all these different solutions in different areas and categories,
mm,
which if you want, you can buy some individually, or you can get the all access pass. So with the all
mm,
access pass, the regular is $14.97 a month. So it's
mm.
very inexpensive. You get an app in the Apple Store and the Google Store afterwards. Uh, the thing is that with the with the recordings, if you get all access, then you get everything. And I add new recordings every month and sometimes new systems too. And there's no increase in price for that.
Beautiful.
So people who buy all access get something called the Triliminal Library as well, which is one of my top selling recording styles, methodologies. And every month we add one or two new recordings to that library.
Awesome. Great
And again,
value.
there's no extra charge for any of that. Oh, one
Beautiful.
other thing I'd like to mention, if possible, and you can get there from the link Linda's going to put there as well. If
Yes.
you are a veteran or currently
Mm,
serving, if you are a first responder, like a doctor, a nurse, EMR, anything like that,
mm.
we offer a system that is supposed to help with anxiety and stress and things like that. It's called Common
PTSD.
Clarity. Well, we can't make medical claims,
Right. Okay.
so we don't make that claim. It's designed to help people to cope with these things.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, all you have to do if you go to the site is scroll to the bottom of that page for the Common Clarity. There's a Ask Us Anything, tell us you're a veteran
Mm.
or a first responder, and we'll give you a special code so you can get it for no cost.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Morry, for being here and sharing your wealth of knowledge. I will put the links down below how you can join Mind Trainer Pro and start adding the subliminals to your daily practice. So, because, yeah, right now people are looking for tools to
Yeah.
help them through this time. So thank you so much for being here, Morry, and I look forward to
Pleasure.
speaking to you again soon. Bye for now. Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye bye.